And we are here in the first lesson of the new year of 2020, and I believe the presence of the Lord will be there with us. And the first lesson is talking about reading to understanding. What's the difference between reading and understanding? Anyone? Can we understand without reading? Or can we read without understanding? In my master's program, my professor always used to please understand. Don't simply just go reading. Understand. And one of my professors in 1999 told me this one. You know what's the meaning of understand? You stand under. That's what it means. The way how he explained was so beautiful. You stand under. If you have to know the weight of the stable, you have to lift it and see. If you have to know the depth of what the truth is all about from the Word of God, we have to understand. And no wonder the Bible says very clearly in Proverbs, okay, ask for wisdom and understanding. And people might have wisdom, but they may not understand. Same thing happened with Solomon. With all the wisdom that he had, he never understood the basic concept of a Christian life. You see, David, the same thing. Jacob, Joseph, you take anyone. Okay. And irony for the matter. They had wisdom, God, they were unable to understand. When God said, please do not eat the fruit of the tree, right? Does it make sense? You had something, Brother Adam. You had something to say?
I was just yawning.
No, previously I thought you raised your hand and okay, fine. And we are going to deal with the book of Daniel. How many of you like the book of Daniel? Have you read Brother Adam any night, the book of Daniel? Have you understood? Even I also never understood anything initially when I started.
Yeah, you can never understand all of it.
I know, at least we can have a little glimpse of the book of Daniel. Daniel is one of the, what you call, historical book, that what I can call it as. A revolutionary book, and in this 21st century, the most needed book. And if you and I will be able to put a heart and mind to study about the symbolism of what the book of Daniel is talking about. If you have to look into the cover book of the Sabbath school, you see? Cover book. Something has been given, right? Can you understand what does it mean, actually? Anyone? Why do you think so the picture is given here? Whenever you remember Daniel, don't ever forget Lion's Den. Number one. Number two, Daniel is a book of a lot of symbolism. A lot of beasts and whole lot of things. And that's one of the reasons, this has been given. Let's go to our Bible text today, and it's taken from Acts chapter 8, verse 30. It says, so Philip ran to him and heard him reading the prophet Isaiah and said, do you understand? What are you reading? Many times what happens is this, we read but we don't understand. Why do you think so? We read and we don't understand. We are good language students, but still we read and we don't understand. Why?
You have to meditate. I think you have to consume it both in your head and in your heart.
Your head knowledge is entirely different from your heart knowledge, right?
Right.
Many times what your head says might not appeal to your heart. And what your heart says will not appeal to your reasoning part that God has given, this medulla oblongata, which is there in your head, right? So what happens is that's combining together in order to understand about every concept what we read. Let's get into quickly about the Sabbath school lesson. A church, most often when I talk about the Adventist church, is born because of this great truth which is there in Daniel and Revelation. And many people say that we don't want to read this book because we don't understand. We want to remember, number one thing in the book of Daniel, that the presence of Christ is always present. The presence of Christ is always there. Any book in the Bible from Genesis to Revelation, you see Christ always been ingrained. Let's go a little bit further. Christ, the center part of Daniel. How many of you gone through the book of Daniel anytime? The whole book. How many chapters are there in the book of Daniel?
9.
Okay, 12 chapters are there. 12 chapters. And we're going to summarize the whole 12 chapters just that way. Keep this in mind so that you will not. This is just a small Bible study so that we all participate. What does the first chapter of the Daniel talks about, if you have any glimpse of your idea? What is the first chapter talks about? the book of Daniel, if you have read. First part, first chapter of the book, if you have read the book of Daniel. It is talking about Daniel and his three friends all the way from exile from Jerusalem to Babylon. What is happening in Babylon? It is a strange land. It is a heathenistic land. God had ordained Nebuchadnezzar to besave the whole Jerusalem, and God called them as his slaves, right? The first chapter deals with, some wise men being chosen, to rule over Babylon. So that's one of the reasons they chose Shadrach, Meshach, Abednego, and Daniel, right? Simple to understand. So the first chapter deals with, the food and a whole lot of stuff. And Daniel and his friends said, we don't want to have the food where the king eats, please give us water and fruits. Can you remember that part? Just that part. Just that part. And if you can remember about the food, what should come to your mind? Food. What should come to your mind? The first thing is random. Go back. What did God say? Do not eat. Appetite. Number two, what about the children of Israel who are coming out of the land of Egypt? What is the main problem with them? There are thousands of people died in just one day because of
Food.
eating. Number three, come to the New Testament, where Jesus, the first time, was tempted. What was it about? The first temptation of Jesus. Eating. If you are the Son of Man, you see how appetite changes a thought process. Does it make sense? What did Daniel say? We don't want to avoid, we want to avoid the king's food. And we want to make sure that, so the first chapter deals with what? Food. If you have to have wisdom from above or understanding, okay, your food plays an important role. What you eat is what you are. Does it make sense? Number one, if you have to go to the chapter 2, don't ever forget, a very important. Chapter 2 describes the figure of the end time, eschatological stone that indicates that the kingdom of Christ will eventually be placed. You see, what happens? Nebuchadnezzar sees a dream, the second chapter. And he sees a dream and he wants somebody to tell them the dream and explain about the dream. What does that mean? It simply means that something has been lost in the head of Nebuchadnezzar and somebody had to see. God in his own infinite mercy is using this method to establish who God is all about. And ultimately, when you see the image, you see what happens here. The stone which was cut from no hand struck the image and the whole thing fell down. It's symbolically understood that all the Babylon, Medo-Persia, Greece, Romans, and the 10 divided kingdoms will be absolutely gone away, and God's kingdom will be established. We all are aware. That is the second chapter of the book of Daniel. Any questions? Any questions? We'll summarize the whole thing so that you'll have a glimpse of what Daniel is all about, right? Number 3. A very important chapter. Christ reveals walking with Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. You remember? There was an image being raised up, and Nebuchadnezzar said, there's going to be a music being given, and you have to bow down. Have you come across that one in the book of Daniel? Have you read that? Yes, right. So what happens? If you don't bow down, then you're going to put you into where? The fire. There's a glimpse here. Don't ever forget this one. I'm summarizing the whole thing. Okay, Nebuchadnezzar heats up the fire. This happens after the explanation of the dream. Don't ever forget. When Nebuchadnezzar acknowledges that God, your God, is the God of salvation. After his acknowledgement, a heathen king is acknowledging Jesus Christ, and then he makes an image and he wants everybody to bow down so that he can exalt himself. Does it make sense? And then he heats up and he was so much angry because Shadrach, Meshach, Abednego doesn't want to bow down to the image. Understand this concept. We have a lot of images in our heart and mind and soul. Lot of images. What is the images? Anything you love more than God is an image. Does it make sense? Anything. Either it might be your spouse, your friend, your work, your money, your life. Anything you love more than God is an image. But what did Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego do? They never bothered about what is going to happen, or if they didn't want to bow down to the image. That makes sense. It simply says that in the last days that you and I have to what? Stand firm. And the fulcrum of chapter 3 is this. When he puts the three men, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, in the fiery furnace, there was another person walking. You know what does Nebuchadnezzar say? Can you remember? Brother Adam, what does Nebuchadnezzar say? He sees four men walking and he mentions an important thing. What does it mean? What does he say?
Looks like a son of God.
Huh?
Looks like the son of God.
He says, how many people have you put inside? 3. Then how can I see another one person who is looking like a son of man? He's a heathen king. Who? Nebuchadnezzar. How can you recognize this? Jesus. You see, everybody is given the spirit of, Holy Spirit in their occult signs. The Lord can reveal himself to anyone. Just that way. And Nebuchadnezzar could see that one. That is the whole message in chapter 3. Chapter 1. Don't ever forget about the food. If you have to understand, the Lord has to give that. That's what the Bible says, the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. Right? Number 2, no kingdom can rule over God's kingdom. Ultimately, if God takes up a step, nobody can be able to. That is chapter 2. I'm summarizing the whole chapter. Chapter 3, it is talking about what? The Son of Man walking. Okay? That is chapter 3. Don't you forget. Okay? Christ walking with the faithful servants with the furnace. Chapter 4, God shows removing Nebuchadnezzar from his kingdom. You remember? Nebuchadnezzar's, Babylon, the kingdom of Babylon was the ancient wonder of the world. For what the Babylonian kingdom was famous for? Do you have any idea? It is called as the ancient 7 wonders of the world. Hanging gardens. It was so beautifully been adorned. People from other countries visited just to see that one. Who takes the credit? Nebuchadnezzar. And no wonder he says, one day in the cool of the evening, he goes on top of his portico and he stands there this way and says, is this not the Babylon that I built? I want to ask you a question. Should he not take the pride? Yeah, of course, he worked hard. He got that. In those economic situations, that is just like US before, in the ancient. And everybody had sheltered. And the economic boom was absolutely very great because of what? Now, why should he not take pride? I don't think they should take pride in it. One thing my brothers and sisters in Christ have to understand is that everything that we have is a gift from God. God gave Nebuchadnezzar an opportunity to know who he is. He never realized. He made an image to self-exaltation. Number 3, God shows him and says, you are not going to last forever. There's a time frame in everything. He never realized it. And still, he wanted to take pride in himself and say, this is mine. You tell me, what is ours? Well, you ask him, what is yours? What is mine? The watch you're wearing, the suit that we have, the very good family that we possess, the house that we built, the car. It's my car, I have paid. Right, sir? How beautiful I look with this book. But don't ever forget, everything which is originated on this earth is just a simple gift for you and me to enjoy. So anything, we have to glorify God. So in chapter 4, instead of glorifying God, Nebuchadnezzar puts himself in exaltation. When we talk about exaltation, don't ever forget that exaltation started in heaven. He wanted to become like God. And the consequences, you see. And same thing happened with Adam and Eve, right? When Satan came and told, hey, the very moment you want to eat the food, you become like gods. That was the problem. Chapter 4. And then he removes Nebuchadnezzar. How many long years? How many long years? For 7 long years. You know, he becomes like an animal. He goes into the forest, a king of kings. So it means God is arbitrary. He can make a servant into a king and a king into a servant. There are a lot of examples. Lot of examples. Where was David? Where was Solomon? You know, if you have to take that beginning, it was absolutely nowhere. And you see God putting them on center stage. That's what chapter 4 talks about. Go to chapter 5. It talks about the demise of King Belshazzar and the fall of Babylon to the Persian due to the night of revelry and debauchery. Chapter 5 talks about this great man called Belshazzar. You remember? He took the utensils from the Lord's temple and started eating and drinking and things like that. A war. You know, he saw the writing called as mene tekel upashim. So which means you have been found wanting, that you will be taken away. And the Medo-Persians came into the existence and destroyed Belshazzar. That is chapter 5. Go to chapter 6 of Daniel, you'll be able to understand again. Plot against killing, Daniel comes into existence. You know, Daniel prayed how many times a day? 3 times a day, right? And there was a decree stated that anyone, you know, in this day prays, most probably you'll be able to put into the lion's den. And later on we know that Daniel he opened the windows, turned his face towards the east and starts praying. Starts praying. And of course he was taken and eventually put into the lion's den. Somebody wrote a sermon, from lion's den to angel's den. The angels were present there. So that is chapter 6, plot to kill, that one. And chapter 7 depicts about Christ as the Son of Man, receiving the kingdom of reigning over his people. That is chapter 7. And chapter 8 talks about Christ as the priest in the heavenly sanctuary. And chapter 9 portrays Christ as the sacrificial victim whose death reconfirms the covenant between God and his people. And of course, chapter 10 to 12 present Christ as the Michael, the commander-in-chief who fights the forces of evil and victoriously rescues God's people even from the power of death. So the whole book of Daniel from chapter 1 to chapter 12 talks about the beginning of evil and how God dealt with the kings and the kingdoms, and later on ultimately his kingdom will be established in every angle of life. And that's the whole summary, of Daniel, the book of Daniel chapter 1 to 12. Simple, profound, without any difficulty you can be able to understand. Any question? Any question? If you have to get into the structure of book, it is absolutely given. If you have your this thing, you can turn with me to page 6. On a Monday's lesson, you'll be able to find the structure of Daniel. Very simple. Nebuchadnezzar's vision of the 4 kingdoms is been given in Daniel chapter 2. You have a table down there. You will be able to find out the 4 kingdoms. Number 1 is Babylon. Number 2 is Medo-Persia. Number 3 is Greece. Number 4 is Rome. And these are the 4 kingdoms which is established in Daniel chapter 2. Don't ever forget the image when Nebuchadnezzar saw the head was made up of gold. That is the first kingdom. That is Babylon, representing gold. And the second one is the breast and the arms, which is made up of silver, which is inferior to the head, which is represented by Medo-Persians. And of course, the belly and the thigh was a little inferior again with brass, represented by this kingdom called as Greece. And of course, the legs were the legs of iron, which represents Rome. These are history. And if you have to look into the book of Daniel, from date to date and time to time, we'll be able to prove that, okay? And the history reveals everything about. So God shows history from the time of Babylon till his second coming. And that's what the book of Daniel deals about. Any questions? If you have to look into the structure, that's the way how it is written. Nebuchadnezzar vision of 4 kingdoms in Daniel chapter 2. And God delivers Daniel's companion from the fiery furnace, chapter 3. And then judgment about Nebuchadnezzar, Daniel 4. Judgment upon Belshazzar, Daniel 5. And then God delivers Daniel from the den of lions, chapter 6. And then chapter 7 talks about Daniel's vision of 4 kingdoms again. So, that is the table of content that you will be able to find in the whole structure of the book of Daniel. Anything that you want to revise? Anything that you want to add? Very simple. Let's go a little bit further and look into the apocalyptic prophecies in Daniel. You know what's the meaning of apocalyptic?
After Christ comes back.
Apocalyptic literature, you call it as. Yes, we can trace it out to the second coming and things like that, but when is the second coming? It is in the future. Apocalypse. You know the meaning of apocalypse? What is apocalypse? Something which is absolutely not being known, which is there stored for you in the future. Does that make sense? If you have to make it very simpler. Okay, that's apocalypse. If you have to look into the book of Daniel, it is apocalyptic. What is apocalyptic prophecy all about? Listen to this one. Apocalyptic prophecy is the display some peculiar features that differentiate from so-called classical prophecies. Like, for example, it might be through visions or dreams, it might be from a composite symbolism, or it might be through a divine sovereignty and unconditionality. Or apocalyptic prophecy means an understanding of the basic difference of the prophetic genres. Or if you have to go a little bit further, you'll be able to find that knowing that the prophetic genres such as classical and apocalyptic prophecy can be of a great benefit because there are God uses a variety of approaches to communicate prophetic truth that is written in Hebrews chapter 1 verse 1. Second, such knowledge helps us to better appreciate the beauty and the complexity of the Bible. Third, this knowledge also helps us to interpret biblical prophecies in a way that are consistent with the testimony of the entire Bible and rightly explain the word of truth. The whole thing is absolutely, if I have to condense it, is this. What is apocalyptic prophecy is simple. If I have to make it very simple, if you have to go to the book of Daniel and Revelation, you have a lot of animals been given there. Have you read read about a lot of animals, lion, bear. Those are symbolism, right? Have you read about that, right? Lion, bear, and type of beast with a lot of horns in it. That's the right. And then metals have been given like gold, silver, brass, and everything is inferior to one another. And then time period is given. And that's what we look. We look into the structure. Nebuchadnezzar's dream, and then again God's kingdom taken up, and then Daniel put into the lion's den. The structure we have been given. So in an apocalypse prophecy, God is trying to show the beauty in the complexity. Why? God was simply plainly told everything just that way, right? Most popular about 1969, I'm going to come. In 538 BC, he's going to get things done. 1844, things are going to be there. Jesus is going to from holy place to most holy place. He was simply told it absolutely very plainly. Why did he use symbolism? Why did he use metals? That's what we read in the Bible. In the first title itself, we have to understand. If you have to understand the biblical truths, don't ever forget this one. It has not been given to everybody. Don't ever forget, the Bible says very clearly, you can't take the pearls and put it into the swines. It doesn't happen. Example, in Babylon, how many wise men were there? Many. King chose them, right? King chose them. But why nobody was able to understand the dreams and the vision where Nebuchadnezzar got? Why do you think so? Why do you think so?
God confounds the proud people who think they know everything. So.
If you have to go to the book of Daniel, then you see, when Nebuchadnezzar sees the vision, let us make it much more simpler. Nebuchadnezzar sees the vision. Right? He sees the dream. What is the first thing that happened to him? What is the first thing that happened to him? He was fearful. Number one. Number two, he wanted somebody to reveal the dream. For whom did he approach the first? The soothsayers, the magicians. What did the magicians say? What did the magicians say?
Tell us the dream and I'll tell you.
O king, we can't do this. No, who can reveal this dream? Only the so-called as God who is living. Does it make sense? You see how God deals. He was simply plainly told everything. And understand this one. You know what does this magicians and the soothsayer say? Please, king, nobody can do that. How can I know what you're dreaming about? You please tell the dream that I will give a right interpretation. That's what they say. You see, God is He is wiser than anybody on this universe because He uses His 100% of His brain. And He is the one who made Nebuchadnezzar forget. God wanted to prove His stand with His children. And guess this one. You just imagine if Nebuchadnezzar would have remembered his dream and asked about the interpretation. They were told something else. We don't know. I don't know how things would have been different. But God uses symbolism and the time frame in every angle to make known that His thoughts will be revealed only by His children. And it proves that one beautiful thing, that is only God is the author of knowledge and wisdom, not anyone else. Does that make sense? Prophetic or apocalypse way of how the Lord has been designed in the book of Daniel. Only the faithful who search the scripture, only the faithful who fears the Lord will be able to understand that what He has in store for everybody. Does that make sense? And that's one of the reasons the book of Daniel and Revelation is symbolized. So that only the diligent seeker will be able to understand the implicating truths about what He is told for each one of us. So, one thing, let us be absolutely very much sure. If we have to know the truth of what the Lord is wanting to reveal to each one of us, we have to fear God. That's the reason the Bible says, the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. Wisdom of this earth is entirely different, and wisdom of heaven is entirely different. If we have to understand the wisdom of heaven, so we have to reach out to heaven. No wonder either it might be Daniel, either it might be Shadrach, Meshach, Abednego, whatever it is, they always went to God and said, Lord, please show us, please help us. And that's the way Holy Ghost. Any questions in this regard? Apocalyptic literature. Any questions? No? Okay. We have God's time scale here, and basically the book of Daniel, we have the historical way of understanding the Bible. Because either you take the book of book of Daniel or Revelation, we talk about Babylon, Medo-Persia, and these are basically history. And where do you find this? If you have to know about, when, from what time frame to what time frame did Babylon rule, from what time frame to what time frame Medo-Persians ruled. Who were these Medo-Persians? Who were these Babylons? Who were the Grecian empires? If you have to know, history talks more about it, right? If history has to talk more about it, so we have to know what history is all about. I want to ask you a question. I want to put a challenge for each one of you. If you have to understand the biblical concept of Daniel and Revelation, please go and trace back to history. Nobody can erase that. And whatever is there given in history, either it might be secular history or religious history, you'll be able to find the real answer of how Bible prophecy coincide together with a historical way of living. Okay, I'll go a little bit further. And then, as we study the book of Daniel, we also have to keep in mind that prophetic time is measured according to the year-day principle. Okay, like for example, if we have to look into Daniel chapter 8 verse 14, Daniel chapter 2 verse 7, 8 and 11, it is talking about nearly 2,300 days prophecy and 1,260 days prophecy. You can't take them as a literal days, because in Ezekiel chapter 4 verse 5 and 6, in a prophetic language is entirely different from the common language that you and I speak. A prophetic language is entirely a different language that you and I could not understand. In Numbers chapter 14 verse 34 also talks about a year-day principle. So it is a long day, it is a 1,230 days prophecy. It is not a literal 1,230 days, but it goes on to a year-day principle, 1,230 years. If you talk about Daniel chapter 8 verse 14, where it talks about 2,300 days, it is not only 2,300 days literal prophecy, because 2,300 days is a very short period of time that even an empire can't be able to cross over. Did you get my point? So the biblical principle is very simple here, that we follow the year-day principle, and that's God's time scale. We'll read the book of Daniel and Revelation. Any questions? Okay, fine. Let's go a little bit further. What is the contemporary relevance of the book of Daniel? Although it was written more than 2,500 years ago, the book of Daniel remains profoundly relevant for God's people in the 21st century too. There are three concepts why do you think so it is relevant. Number one, God stands sovereign over our lives. You all agree with that? He is always. Number two, God steers the course of history. Nobody can change. Only God is the one who steers. Number three, God provides a role model for his end time people. Example, Daniel and his friends. Shadrach, Meshach, Abednego. You see, when you talk about, when God said to Nebuchadnezzar, you're not going to last for a long time. He said it very clearly. He said you're not going to last only for a period of time. And he mentions even the period of time in the book of Daniel. And he says, very soon he will be overthrown, he says. And when Nebuchadnezzar was sent into a forest, he was just like what? An animal. You know, he never had anything. His hair grew just that way, and he felt like an animal. And later God says, after 7 years, I'm going to get you back to the kingdom. You see, once he repents. After 7 years, Nebuchadnezzar repents himself and says, yes, God. He looks up to heaven and says, yes, you are the King of kings and the Lord of lords. And then what happened? Kingdom was given back to Nebuchadnezzar once again. What does it all speaks about? It's simply speaking about God is arbitrary, and He can establish thrones, He can remove the thrones. Whomever He wants to, He can implant and apply. Whomever He wants to dethrone, He will dethrone. He has all the arbitrary power. He takes a different routes altogether in order to prove Himself. God is all powerful. If He wants to do things on His own, just in a second He can do things. But it takes a lot of means and methods in order to establish Himself anywhere in the book. Like, for example, last time we talked about Nehemiah and Ezra. When they had to build the temple, God is so powerful. He could do that instantaneously. But He just waited, and He had His own methods to do it with His children. So in the book of Daniel, you and I should be able to understand very implicatively that God stands sovereign in our lives. Nobody can be able to touch us. Nothing can be done. Only His will be done. Number two, God steers the course of history. If Nebuchadnezzar should be there, yes. If Belshazzar should be there, yes. If King Ahab should be there, yes. If somebody else should be there, yes. And He is the one who could put it. And the last part is where God provides a role model for His end-time people, like Daniel, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. And then there are some important things here. And it says this way: study the history of Daniel and his fellows. Though living where they were, met on every side by the temptation to indulge self, they honored and glorified God in their daily life. They determined to avoid all evil. They refused to place themselves in the enemy's path. And with rich blessings, God rewarded their steadfast loyalty. Ultimately, as we enter into our 2020 new year, one thing can be learned about God's word in the book of Daniel is this: if you and I are called to be faithful, whatever the circumstances might be, however things might be, when He can be able to establish thrones and dethrone the kingdoms, and He says that I am there with you, don't worry about it. He's only anticipating us to be faithful, just like that. Whatever the principles that the Lord has underlined in His word, if you and I could keep them diligently, like Shadrach, Meshach, Abednego, and Daniel, He will not leave you, He will not forsake you. That's the thing. So that is understanding. So when we read the word of God, it is not just simply you go through just the way how we want to, like Psalms or Proverbs. Usually what happens with you and me, once we read the book of anytime we want to read, for our worship, we usually take the book of Psalms, right? We don't read Leviticus. We read Leviticus anytime. Numbers, Deuteronomy. Have you ever read that one for your worship in the morning or the evening? It doesn't make any sense, right? Why? Why do you think so? That doesn't make any sense. We don't even go to the book of Genesis or something. We don't take the book of Daniel or Revelation. No. We only simply go to the book of Psalms. Why? Huh? Yeah, number one is all praise. But why do we go there? Only that one. Well, there's a profound thing that I want to make a statement here. Why do you think so we go? Why do Brother Andy also, when you open, you always open the book of Psalms, I don't know. It's right. Number one. Number two is very easy to understand. When you talk about symbols, when you talk about kingdoms, when you talk about something, and they even say, oh my, this is not for me. If this is not for us, then why did God give us this as a part of the Bible? You see, interpreting dreams and visions was an entirely a difficult process for Daniel in Revelation. But the implicit faith that they had towards Christ is that He is going to deliver us. He is going to, the dependence that they had. So whenever we read the Word of God, don't ever forget, let's not read the way how we really want to. Let us understand in context, going to the Lord, because only He can, that's what the book of Daniel talks about. Only He can reveal the truth. And the truth will be able to set free. And the truth is ingrained in the 66 books. And basically in the last days, you have to read the book of Daniel and Revelation. That's what I urge you. As we summarize the whole 12 chapters in a very condensed way, and we can find Christ's arbitrary way of how He is in control of the whole universe. And He told from the time of Daniel, from the time of Babylon, till the 10 divided kingdoms, He says, this is what is going to happen. And as I told you, a stone was cut from no hand, and what happened? The image was absolutely broken. It is simply understood that the whole world will be destroyed, and Christ's kingdom will be established. And that is the faith that Daniel and Shadrach and Meshach and Abednego had, and that is the God they served in every area. So in these last days, I urge you in the name of Christ, please make sure, read the book of Daniel and Revelation, understand its context, go to the history, compare with one another, and then you'll be able to find the beauty of truth. When you talk about symbolism, when you talk about metals, when you talk about yearly principles, it might be a little difficult, that's what, but you have to put your efforts in order to understand it. Without putting a little efforts, you and I can't be able to understand. Or some of them think, why should I put so much effort? I don't have time. So let me go to the book of Psalms, and then lift up my heads unto the heaven. That's more than enough for me. I don't want anything. You know, we are limiting, our knowledge to just a fragment. But God has given us so much for us to learn and understand. Any questions?
The essence of the gospel is not just the good news, but the good things to happen in spite of the bad stuff. And so you need to know what the bad stuff is. And the timeline has been given in the form of a human image, and there's no dispute about it. It is historically proven. Therefore, one can say that the Bible is the most accurate information in terms of history of the past, present, and future. There can be no other account that can contradict it. So if you don't know what it says correctly, you will not be prepared. So preparing for the end is just as important as living for today, under grace and mercy and all those things. Otherwise we'll be like what it says in Revelation, because the book of Daniel goes all the way to Revelation, written by John. And it says there, I think, there are 5 foolish and 5 wise virgins. But all of them are virgins. But 5 of them are foolish. So which means, half of them were prepared halfway. So you only went halfway. So to go the full way, you need to read the Bible in a way that will make sure that it makes sense and not contradict to yourself or according to history itself or according to the Bible.
Thanks very much.
Preparation is the key.
Yeah, the one thing that I want to substantiate my stand today is this. Daniel and Revelation is just like a road map from the ancient time till His second coming. Where to go, how to go about it. And history supports it so beautifully, and the time accuracy is absolutely so beautiful, so timed so well that you and I can never ever, lose our faith in God at all once you start reading the book of Daniel and Revelation. And you'll be amazed to see that God's time is so perfect. Seek and ye shall find. Want to know the truth? Yes, God saves us from grace and mercy. That's enough. But you know the roadmap where God gives us to Daniel, Revelation gives us accuracy during what time. How many of you watch news? You know, yesterday's news there's something very strange. Okay, you know in Australia there's something happening. The fire has been entered. The whole of East Coast is completely caught up. From October 3 till today, they're unable to quench the fire at all. Troops from America and Canada have been gone there to help them. The neighboring state that is called Indonesia, what is happening there? There is a type of tsunami, you know, just been started off with, and things like that, and thousands of people have been completely evacuated. You know, in Iran, something is happening now. There's a lot of wars and things like that. And you know, the other part of the nation, where North Korea, South Korea, either it might be China, either it might be India, we are having a lot of political turmoil in every angle of life, and the whole nations are gearing up. You know, just now North Korea said, I'm not worried about anything, I'm here to shoot out something up, no problem. Iran is saying, I am ready to do something. You know, this is the first time we are hearing this talk. And the President of the United States, we are ready. Our military is very strong there. What does this remind us? Go to Matthew chapter 24, 1 Timothy chapter 3, and go even to the book of what? Daniel and Revelation. You will be able to find that one thing. Nations rise against nations. History is proving time again that the time prophecy is absolutely fulfilling and the Lord is at hand. There is no way that you and I could what? Escape. The rock is good. The environmental scientists have been so much alarmed that within 7 years from now, the whole world is going to be polluted for 50% just that way. And the existence of the world will be only for 20 years or 25 years. That's what they say. With accuracy, science can't be wrong also to a certain extent. Look into the book of Matthew, then you'll be able to understand the implicated way that we are living in this very last days of time. So we need the roadmap in order to see all these things to strengthen our faith. You see.
And be ready in the sense that Daniel has clearly written, it's in the book of Daniel, that Babylon, which ultimately represents man and pride. You know, look at me, I have done this, I have built this. Will be repeated, will be reincarnated in the end times. Babylon will be repeated, which is confusion, collaboration and collusion between good and evil. And who will be in that group? It's not just, Muslims or Hindus or, like some people may think, but they are professed Christians who will go after other Christians. Christians persecuting Christians who may not agree with their point of understanding or contention that sometimes, since God used Rahab, so we can also use the powers of the earth to accomplish heavenly goals. It will never happen. God very clearly said, my kingdom is not of this world. You cannot build it. We can only be ready for it. We can prepare for God's kingdom to come, which will smash every other kingdom, every other order. There will not be 1,000 years of peaceful reign on this earth as many Christians believe. They think that they have to prepare this world for God to come to establish His kingdom on the earth for 1,000 years, during which the Jews supposedly will be given probation to come back. They're very well intentioned, but if you're not getting the roadmap right, you'll be ending up in the wrong camp. Babylon will be repeated, which is confusion, man's pride, misunderstanding, misinformation, fake information. All this has been predicted and it is coming true, alarmingly. So be prepared.
Thank you very much, Brother Anand, for that one. So that's one of the things we started and said. It is not only reading is important, it is what understanding is important. So let's plead with the Lord and ask Him the wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, so that God will give us the fervent mind that we could sit at the Word of God, sit at the feet of Jesus, listen to Him. And no wonder I like the story of Martha and Mary. To conclude, it's very simple. And Martha was doing a better job too, preparing food and busy. It represents a type of people. They're absolutely trying to do good, but still they're absolutely keeping themselves busy. And here we see Mary sitting at the feet of Jesus and listening to this word. And Jesus tells his own mouth very beautifully. It says that, Mary is far better than what Martha is doing. In these last days, in this turmoil, in this difficulty, a lot of trials, troubles, chaotic experiences, just there in the corner. We don't. As we begin this new year 2020, let's make a commitment. We want to be like Mary. Listen to the word of God. Read vehemently. And understand the roadmap so that we can smoothly sail through, not losing our faith and hope in Christ. Amen. That should be our focal point as we start this 2020. That's the Sabbath principle. Any questions again? Sabbath school office.